I like that better. Welcome to Perfect Connections, everybody. We have a few new folks, and I think most of you are from St. Paul, so it's lovely to see you. I don't know if you've been to one of our Perfect Connections meetings in the past, but it is just a free-for-all, and there's no agenda, and there's no points. You just show up and talk and ask questions and do whatever you would like to during this time. But because we do have a few new people, how about if we just, why don't we go around and why don't we do the thing of, after you identify yourself, like pick somebody else out and then ask them to talk. And then that way we're not confused with, talk to the person on your right. Oh, that's a different person than you see. So again, welcome everybody. I'm Susan Walker, and just in full disclosure, I am recording. I record our meetings so then I can put them up on YouTube in a playlist, and then other educators who don't have a chance to join us can view the videos afterwards. And over the summer they've been quite popular. So anyway, so just letting you know that I'm recording. So again, I'm Susan Walker. I'm with the University of Minnesota, and I will turn it over to Ellen.
Hey everybody, I'm Ellen Hafner. I'm a parent educator down in Northfield. I'll pass it off to Greta. Oh. You're muted, Greta.
Well, you missed it. Sorry. No.
Julie,
I'm Greta Nelson.
Wearing your t-shirt. Greta, I just have, sorry to interrupt you, but Julia wore the best shirt last Friday, and it said, "You're muted."
Yeah, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
I love it. That's awesome, Julia. I need one of those, and then I need Ellen's. The parent educators, the few, the proud.
The few, the proud, the parent educators.
Yep.
There it is.
Yep.
I'm a parent educator in Cambridge, Isani schools, and I am going to pass it on to Julia.
I'm Julia Rhoda, and I'm an early childhood teacher in Inver Grove Heights. And I'm going to pass it to Shelly.
Hi, I'm Shelly Doran. I'm a parent educator in District 196, which is Apple Valley, Rosemount, Egan. And I will give it to Christy.
Hi, I'm Christy. I'm a parent educator in Rosemount, Apple Valley, Egan, and I'm gonna be on mute and off because I'm eating my lunch.
Christy, you want to pass it to somebody?
No, I'm too hungry. No.
Oh. You just have to figure this out on your own. All right, then I'll pick somebody.
I'll pass to Elizabeth.
There you go.
Hi, thanks for this opportunity. I'm Elizabeth Hudacek. I'm with St. Paul Public Schools, parent educator. Oh, pass it off to Meg, another colleague from SPS.
Hi, I'm Meg Ducey. I'm a early childhood teacher, St. Paul ECFE. And I'll pass it on to San. Hi, San.
Hi, I'm Sam Ha. I may be the only, I'm not the only male parent educator, but probably I'm the only non-white, non-English, non-native English speaker who became a parent educator in Minnesota. I'm one of the rare species, that endangered species, I guess.
Do you want to pass it to someone?
Cindy, can you hear me?
Yes.
You're next, yeah.
Thank you. I'm Cindy Snow, and I'm a parent educator in SPPS. Thanks, everyone. And I will pass it to Susan Keeger.
Hi, I'm Susan Keeger, and I'm a preschool teacher and SPPS. And I'm not sure who hasn't spoken yet. Has Julia spoken?
How about Barbara?
Okay, hey Barbara,
Hi.
pass it to you.
Awesome. I'm Barb Burkhart. I'm a parent educator and an English language learning ABE instructor in St. Paul. And I'll pass it to Susan Summers.
Hi, I'm Susan Summers, and I'm currently serving as a parent educator in St. Paul Public Schools. And I don't know who, I was late, so I don't know who hasn't gone.
How about Sharon?
Okay, Sharon.
Hello. I'm off. Okay. Yes. Hi. I'm Sharon. I'm eating lunch. You're going to get a lot of SPPS people because we just finished one meeting and moved to this meeting. I'm early childhood with St. Paul. I'm going to pass to Michelle Storvik.
I'm Michelle Storvik. I'm a parent, educator, and early childhood teacher for St. Paul Public Schools. My job's a little bit different than most parent eds because I work in a high school with teen parents. And I will pass it to, let's see, Anne. I think you just joined.
Yes, I did. I'm Ann Agassiz. I'm an early childhood teacher in St. Paul ECFE.
Wonderful. So I think that's everybody, and we'll see who else joins us. For the folks who just joined us or haven't been with us on a regular basis, I do have a listserv that, don't worry, it's not like it's going to send you spam or anything, but I use it to send out any announcements about meetings and that sort of thing. So if you would like to be added to that listserv, you can put your email address over in chat, and then I'll add you to the listserv. It's just perfectconnections@umn.edu. All right. So I am going to stop talking and open the floor once again. So questions, observations, challenges, joys, concerns. Although, I have a new one for you though. My department chair opened a meeting the other day, and she said, to grow every flower or every rose has petals and thorns. I thought, wait a minute, they stole that from ECFE. Anyway, so what questions do you have, observations? This is your group.
For the districts that have been doing a hybrid model, maybe you could just briefly describe what you're doing, what that looks like in your district.
I can speak to that a little bit. We've made it through 2 weeks now of the hybrid model. The first week I think was a little bit rough, figuring out how everything goes. But so the ECFE classes, we have split into 2 cohorts. So like we have the most 4 kids and 4 parents in a class at the same time. So and then we have 4 kids and parents on the screen. So what I do is set up the iPad in the kids' room with the Zoom link for the parents that are at home. The early childhood teachers have made at-home learning kits for the kids that are at home on their weeks off. So it's awesome. I mean, they've worked so hard. I mean, for me, my noticing is that it's gone really, really well, that part. So like they have Play-Doh, and then like the purpose behind the Play-Doh. So the kids at home are all doing Play-Doh, and the teacher and all the kids each have a tray of Play-Doh in the actual classroom. And so they do that activity together. And then, it's gone really well. And then the teacher does a group time, and then I separate with the parents, and then those parents come into my parenting room on Zoom. I leave the iPad in the kids' room so that they can watch the classroom, but then I have it pulled up on my smart board as well. And so then the parents join in the parent room on Zoom. And we've reduced the class time to just 1 hour, so it's a little shorter. So, you know, obviously we're not getting as much content done, but parents have had good feedback, and I feel like it's worthwhile doing. It's been a nice, it's worked out pretty well, I think. So that's kind of what we're doing. And then I do also have one class that's outside only, and you know, that's gone well as well. I don't know, Christy, if you would speak to what your classes have gone. We're doing the same model, so.
Well, I have some preschool classes, but just have one evening ECFE, and I thought it was interesting because one of the things we were worried about was facilitating everyone on like zooming in and in person, and so I had really put a focus on that and tried to make sure I was using people's names, and kids were waving to each other who were on the screen and in the room. And I didn't realize I was doing this, but we were doing like ground rules the second week, didn't get to it the first week. And one of the moms in person says, I really like how you call on the people on the screen first, because it makes them feel like more of the part of the group. And I didn't really know I was doing that, but she noticed it. And I think it did make a bit of a difference.
I've even noticed too, like the families that are coming in on the second week that were home the first week are pretty purposeful about greeting the kids on the iPad, like getting in front of it and saying, hi, you know, and so that brings that connection in too. I think we're all figuring it out, but I feel like I'm glad we're through the first 2 weeks. I feel like I can breathe again, but you know, it's gone well.
Shelley, I'm curious about camera placement, right? So was that a challenge for you to kind of get the whole room, or how did that work?
We don't get the whole room. I mean, that's the reality of it is we don't see everybody. What I've done is set it up next to where the teacher is like playing her Play-Doh, or they did water this week. And so she's looking at the iPad, talking to the kids at home, and then looking at the group of kids that are actually in person. And then like last week, she was doing a story and the iPad was right next to her. And so then I pulled it around and put it in front of her so the kids could see. So the iPad's like in the middle of the circle, but nobody goes after it, which I was surprised at as well. The kids kind of just leave the iPad alone. So, you know, that hasn't really been an issue. But I agree with Christy, like it is not easy to look at the people in the room and look at the people on the screen. I've had a little bit of a challenge making sure that I almost am paying more attention to the people on the screen than I am the people that are in my room, I noticed. So I've tried to, that's been something I've had to work on for sure.
I totally agree with you on that, Shelley. Last night we have our night class. We have 6 families. So our hybrid model is just hybrid numbers. We have six okay. Kids, 6 parents or fewer parents. But I have a picture that I took last night of my early childhood teacher. We had 1 family in person and 3 online. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is Pat right here.
Yep.
Oops, I just ruined it. So Pat's there in the corner with the black jacket and the white hair. And then there's the 1 family we had attend. I don't know where everybody was. I need to make some phone calls today, but there's the iPad right in the middle. And so my job during Circle is to move the iPad around in such a way that, well, it wasn't in the sun. I mean, we had our daytime classes, we don't have sun issues. And we also have very few other families zooming in. But just, I kept moving it. And then when she was doing the songs, I held the words up to the screen. When she was reading the book, I moved it in such a way. So I feel like I'm like the camera woman, which is fine because normally during Circle time, I'm running copies, running to the restroom. So I've just completely changed my role while she's busy. And that makes her feel good too. She's not comfortable doing story time in front of the camera at all, despite distance learning in the spring. So she's still just, oh, I hate it. Thank you for doing that. So.
Can you talk about a little bit more about what it looks like in the parent ed room?
We have not been separating.
Okay.
We are going to. So this was week 3 for us. Is it week 3? Our first class we separated on a Monday, and there was an event tent that was outside. We have done every single class outside. So that's what 32 classes now we've done, except 1 has been inside, and 1 yesterday we had to run in for rain. So everything has been outside. So on top of figure out this technology piece, and I mean, we also are in a brand new building and brand new space. So it's a lot of new, and my head wants to explode most days. And then it's, bathroom and wash hands and whatever. So, when we separated the first time, it was a disaster because the kids all stood inside the fence and screamed because they could see their parents. And since it was a new space, some new families, we just decided, you know what, we're not going to separate. And I've been watching kids and parents, and when I think we're ready now. I think we're going to separate. So parents are going to go into the building, into the parent ed room this week, and we're going to take the virtual families with us.
And that's what we've separated each week. And our class size is so low that the teachers can, like there's only 4 kids in there at the most, and there's 2 teachers. So it's actually gone fairly well. And so I leave the iPad in the kids' room. So those families at home are hooked up to Zoom and they can watch the children's room. And then my laptop is hooked up to the smart board in my parent room. So those parents are on the smart board, which is behind me. So the parents in the classroom can see. But I've done introductions and stuff this week, and I just turn my computer around to who's ever introducing themselves so the people at home can see. It's just kind of a lot of, like Ellen was just saying, you're fiddling around with it for a little bit. I feel like I've learned a lot about what to do and what not to do.
Thanks so much. I'm going to pop off just for a minute. My dog has to go outside.
Yeah, we don't have our TVs yet, so I just have the iPad on a tripod because they're going to install them. We don't know when, so.
Yep.
But it'll be really nice. And Shelley, so can I circle back to how you have the iPad on to show the classroom? We decided not to do that because we thought it might be too hard on the kids who weren't in school to see, but we're not doing every other week. So I just almost felt like one mom who is participating virtually would see what's going on in the classroom and just be really bummed that they're not there. But then I guess I didn't think about the kids saying hi to who's on the screen. We just decided against that, but maybe we should rethink it.
Yeah, it's actually gone. Honestly, that part of it has gone a little bit better than I thought. And I think the parents that are on site are pretty cognizant of the people that are at home. And that's something that has surprised me a little bit. So they're kind of saying hello to them and that way they all got to do introductions with each other. So, and they're with the same people each week. I don't know, it's gone better than I thought.
So mine's a little different because we had a split of people online and in person. So our in-person people come every week just because of how it's split out. So we don't keep the iPad on in the children's room. I have the iPad on the 3 people in my room and the computer on me. So they see the group and me. But, but I think, I don't know, Shelley, maybe Katie's doing this too, but my early childhood teacher records her lesson, like the Play-Doh piece. So it's like a virtual playtime with an early childhood teacher, and that's worked well for our group too. So.
Yeah, Kate, we haven't done that. It's all live, and I do have some classes where we do just have like 4 families in there, and they do come every week, and so there is no virtual part of it. But like I teach a Monday night twos class, and there's 4 families, so they can come every week and only bring 1 parent. But then some of the parents at home wanted to join, so I did set up a Zoom link, and so I have put the technology into that class, even though there isn't a cohort that those people come every week. And a couple families did join from home, even though their spouse was there with the child in the parent room. So that was kind of fun for them too. They got to all talk to each other and hear what we were talking about.
What I like is it's complete parent choice. They can, they can come in person, they can be online. If they can't be in person that week, they can be online. It has a flow to it. You just have to be open to the flexibility of choice for parents.
I have a question. So with masks on then, well, you've been outside, but for those of you, has anyone been in the classroom yet? Yeah, okay. So then you have masks on. So then when the kids are saying hi from home, do they know who kids are? Are they recognizing people, or are they asking who they are?
I think our kids are just learning it. We've only had week 2, so I don't think they really know each other yet. They're recognizing the teacher, you know, who's doing the songs and all of that, I think. But I'm not sure they know other kids yet.
Thank you.
Julia or Greta, how about your experiences?
Our ECFE is all virtual. Our preschool is hybrid, and that's so the kids aren't masked, and they come each week, but just one day a week. So, and the virtual classes are going well. At least from my part, that I'm not in there when the parents are with the parent educator. There's low enrollment though. We're still, you know, not able to get our enrollment up despite lots of advertising. So, but the reason we chose to do ECFE virtual is because of the preschool being hybrid. They had to use our ECFE room, so we don't have a space.
And so I'm the opposite. We don't have any virtual going on. We're all in person. So I do have one class, and my other parent educator in the same district has another class that's parent only virtual, but 0 people have signed up for it. So we're finding everyone wants to be in person. So I don't have even a hybrid. And if we go to hybrid, we're qualifying it that without virtual. So so we have a different experience, the opposite of you, Julia, compared to that. So, and I have waiting lists, and we're trying to figure out how to do more classes with less staff because we didn't rehire everybody from the spring. So we're short on staff. So we can't fully run all the classes right now that we would like to if we could get the waiting lists into a regular room. So, yeah. But we did have to change
classes, or did you reduce your class sizes, or?
The class sizes we did reduce to a maximum of, I think we have a maximum of 5 families in a room. And so there could be 7 or 8 kids if there's siblings in a mixed age group. But yeah, so they're reduced sizes. So that's probably why we have the waiting lists, because people want to come and they can't fit. Trying to think of what else to say that hasn't been said. I am very curious as to how you guys are doing the distance and the virtual, because I think we might move into that at some point during the school year, and it would be nice to have all of your expertise so we don't have to do a lot of trial and error. So thank you for sharing. Well, I'm writing it all down. So
can I ask a question, Greta? How does the social distancing work with 7 kids and 4 parents, or 4 families?
As in person, it's understood that we're doing our very best, but it isn't a hybrid, so you don't have to guarantee right now. So right now we're washing hands, sanitizing hands, we're creating, under the guise of creating a clean room when everyone comes. And then when you come into this room, you're clean. And so if anything would change that, like sneezing or mouthing a toy or anything, we immediately try to, get that into the mouthed toys bucket that already has soap and water in it, and just put it in there right away and take care of that kind of stuff that way. And that's our hope. When they get within 6 feet of each other, we're in a clean environment. And so that's how we're handling it.
Thank you.
Cindy, we're masks, even though we're outside, parents have been awesome about wearing masks. I do take mine off when I teach. And when we're sitting we're all 6 feet apart from each other outside. And for the 2 times we were inside, I know I left my mask on the whole time. And children are not wearing masks. And toddlers can't social distance. But I have been amazed, you guys, at how well these 2.5, 3, and 4-year-olds, they're wearing their masks better than most adults at the grocery store. They are so good about wearing their masks. And we have some kids who just come in with their mask and they never take it off. So it's been really impressive, I gotta say.
Great. Yeah, they're pretty adaptable.
Mhm.
And I leave my mask on the whole time, teaching and in the building, unless I'm in a conference room now by myself, so I don't have it on. But when I'm with other people, I always have it on.
Yeah, it's definitely when I was inside for that little bit, it just kept creeping down and creeping down. I was like, oh, like you use all your mouth muscles to get it to come back up, and yeah, it's inside. It's interesting, isn't it?
Well, and Greta, earlier you had been talking about wearing the visor and that it was lightweight. Are you wearing it?
Yeah, we're wearing our visor. We're wearing a shield.
But Greta, are you wearing it with a mask also? Because we were told by our district we can only wear the shields for a very short amount of time, like for a story time. Like they said, we can't just wear the shield alone without a mask. Like we were like, that was pounded into our brain from our superintendent.
Yeah, so here we are.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. It's because
this is being recorded.
We have not been told that we have to have our mask on with our shields. How's that? That's what I've been told.
Okay.
I'm
sorry.
well, one of my kids has been sick for over 3 months with COVID, so I'm a little bit cautious. And with a lot of the information coming out by the American Academy of Pediatrics about the aerosol nature and the concern about the aerosol nature of COVID, how are you assuring that you're okay and that the kids are going to be okay? Because even though young children don't necessarily get sick or as sick, there can be fatal or long-term problems for children if they have become infected. I'm not chastising you, I'm just wondering kind of how you've incorporated that information into your practice. Thank you.
Is that to me directly? Was that and to me directly or anybody?
Anybody who wants to feel that. I'm just very curious about taking the medical part of it and transposing that onto the best practices in the classroom. Again, no judgment, just curious.
And I think that's why, because in the summer, our superintendent said, hey, we're getting you all some shields. And then they changed their mind and said, you know what? We now know that that's not best practice. What we have been offered are super shields. It's a shield, it comes over the face, and then it has a medical grade apron that comes down around your neck. I haven't tried that yet. Julia, have you?
No.
Okay.
We have the shield, but we're told we could either have to wear both, or if we have the shield on, it can only be for less than 15 minutes. So sometimes I'll just wear the shield at story time because I have a couple speech kiddos. But most of the time I wear both.
So for me to try to feel like I'm doing best practice, I have very seriously taken on everybody washing, everyone using sanitizer, people doing their checklist before they walk in the door, nobody having symptoms. And now I know that there are people who can be carrying it that have no symptoms. And I realize that. And I think I'm putting trust into my supervisors making the decisions they made for the region that we're in, that we're still in person. And I suppose there's a different feel in an environment where we're operating in person in our lower grades, and maybe a little bit of confidence warranted or regarding, or not warranted, whatever, so I'm trusting the leadership when they say you can operate this way, knowing what you guys were talking about specifically. Anne, when you mentioned we don't know for sure if it's aerosol or if it's not, and that sort of, and those pieces. So yeah.
Well, and I've heard of all kinds of configurations in sort of the private elementary schools where they're having kids in like pods of 6 kids, and then the teachers will go from room to room. And And those 6 kids do everything all day long. And the teacher assistants that I've talked to at the schools have said, those kids are not masked, and, they're doing the best they can, but it's just a different environment, and they're kind of making it up and trying to follow rules as best as they can.
I just have a hard time thinking that my behavior could kill one of my students. I mean, that to me is just we've had a couple of kids die from, not in the classroom, but that have been attending ECFE, and it's just such a horrid feeling. And if I thought that I would have a part in a child getting sick enough that they could be disabled or die, I just don't know.
Yeah.
Not just to protect myself, but just the thought of setting up an environment where that could happen. It just scares me.
Oh, sure. And let me turn it around. I mean to the whole group, but how are you feeling? I've talked to a couple educators in the springtime who they were concerned about their school districts having face-to-face because they didn't know how comfortable they felt with it. And, even I didn't meet with my undergraduate class yesterday. We were going to meet face-to-face, but I think honestly at this point, the college kids are so into whatever kind of virtual arrangements that when you ask them to come to campus, they're like, yeah, no, right? And I didn't really mind when I was thinking about kind of exposure and 19-year-olds and whatnot. So how are you all feeling about being safe?
Well, my perspective, I think because I have 2 daughters who are nurses, one is in the emergency room at HCMC. And I just have, seen friends outdoors on a patio or walking, and with my daughter's approval. Excuse me, but I just got a text this morning, which was kind of startling. My friend, who's a retired St. Paul school counselor, we walked last Thursday, a week ago, and she brought her 15-year-old daughter with. And she texted me this morning that her husband is pretty sick in bed, and he just tested for COVID. He's at home. But so he's been sick since Tuesday, and he's been very, very careful. He's gone back to 3M hybrid as an engineer. He wears a N95. And because I said, do you know where he got it? And she said, no. And then she said, none of us have been sick. And her daughter, who's 15, had a little head cold 2 weeks ago. Now they're in White Bear Lake School District, which is hybrid. So I kind of shared this with my daughters because they also visited with her outside briefly. And then my friend and I went for a walk with her daughter. But when you start connecting the dots, it's like my daughters were really surprised. They expressed to me that when her daughter had a head cold, you go get tested. Because she's a 15-year-old and the symptoms may be asymptomatic or they may be very mild. But I think that's something, so now my daughters think I should probably get tested. They think I was at very low risk. They weren't in my house, but still, so yeah, I said in between meetings, I'll call my healthcare provider, but they were just really surprised that my friend, like with a master's degree, didn't think to get her 15-year-old tested. And I'm like, I don't think unless you are talking to someone in the healthcare field all the time, you might miss this. But my hunch is her husband got it from the daughter. So I'm just saying I'm a little bit, more on edge about it right now. I don't think I have it necessarily, but just even if a little kid comes in with a little cold, they probably need to go home right away.
Well, and that's what the decision tree from MDH, that whole big colorful thing.
Right.
I said to families, if your child has a cold, you can't come to school.
Right.
And toddlers, if it's drippy and clear, that's one thing. But if you have a kid with a cough, a fever, whatever, you go home, you get a test, or you come back in 2 weeks.
Right.
And I didn't mince words about that. I was just like,
yeah,
that's how we keep your family healthy, and that's how you keep our staff healthy, and that's how we keep our community healthy.
And call your healthcare provider because they could be a carrier. I'm just kind of giving a heads up, I don't know that the 15-year-old had it. Now the rest of the family is going to get tested. They have 3 teens. that have been going to White Bear Lake hybrid. So,
Oh.
you know, you just never know, you know. Thanks, everyone.
I just want to encourage us all to remain vigilant. And I think that as we wear on, and we're in different locations in Minnesota, so some people may be feeling it differently. My mother-in-law just died yesterday of COVID. And I'm only sharing that to let you know that she wasn't exposed to anybody per se, but it's just, you know, it's not about blame, but we're still in a pandemic. And so it's not about always identifying, well, I went to the grocery store, or I hung out with a, 14-year-old, but it's just part of what we have to consider.
Mm-hmm. And that's where my daughter said, you know, it isn't about blame, and I get that, but those patios that I've been on are a risk too, you know, and so, I mean, I haven't been in a restaurant, but everything we do carries potential risk.
Well, my son just shared, he's in Milwaukee. He's in his final year of college, and he just texted on Sunday, and his roommate is positive for COVID. And so he tested Monday and came back negative, but he is quarantining as a precaution. And, and my husband works as a pharmacist at a hospital, and he's taking care of COVID patients. And so it kind of, when we heard that news from my son, it put us in a different, we were a little bit, like it's coming, it feels closer now.
My daughter's an athlete up at University of North Dakota. She plays soccer. Well, their season is postponed, but athletes get tested every Tuesday, and they are still practicing and lifting. Out of 26 players on her team, 21 have had it. Oh. So it does. I mean, so listening, Barbara, like, yeah, that gives you kind of concern. And my daughter hasn't had it yet, but it is out there and it's running rampant. So I do think you're right. We need to be vigilant. We need to continue to follow all the guidelines. And so.
And the guidelines are not always accurate. The CDC has been impacted by political appointments and influence. Same in Center for Infectious Diseases. It's like, what is the truth? How do we find out what our risks really are? Now, supposedly the president has COVID. Well, but and telling us it's not a big deal. So what do we believe?
And that just speaks to the fact that vigilance. I mean, we don't know what our families are doing on the weekends.
No.
We can only, and it's like that. When I start to feel like I'm I'm like, well, I can control my family. I can control where we don't go. I'm the only one really leaving the house. My kids are hybrid, I mean that.
Yeah, I know. But at what point this is a pandemic. We haven't done this before.
No.
What is the best way? And is 5% of the population dying for people up to about 24? Is that enough? Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Does that matter? Well, hopefully it won't be my family member, but do I care? It's like, yeah, one is too many. I'm sorry, one is too many.
I think it speaks to the importance of us continuing to offer a distance option for as long as families feel that that's necessary. I think we have to be ready for that to be incorporated in the short term, but also in the long term. Mm-hmm. If we want to continue, because that's one thing we can control, right? We can't control what families have been doing on the weekend and then they come on site on Monday. But what we can do is say, well, we're going to continue to offer a distance option, even if the school districts say you need to be back in person. And now all of us have shown that we can do this, right? We can do this technology piece and we can do it well. And so, silver linings, right?
And I think with winter too, I think it's really important that we really have maybe more options for families to participate virtually.
Mm-hmm. Someone asked about how virtual is going on. I don't remember who asked that question. I mean, we have, how many classes do we have? 80, Susan, in?
Yeah, she just mentioned this morning in the meeting. A
She's
lot.
70.
70, yeah.
70.
And I know that the infant toddler team, we just added 2 parent only sessions for Monday and Wednesday, maybe Monday and Tuesday.
And so we're doing a 1 hour, and some of us, like we have the early childhood teacher, the classes I do, they're the first 20, 15 or 20 minutes. So then I have about 40 or 45 for parent ed. I think some are being run separate. For sure, the parent only classes that are like at 7:30 at night, they do not have an EC on, but then they have separate EC story time. Sharon's doing that now. Bedtime with books or sing along. Yeah, a couple different options there.
And Barb's doing family literacy classes online. I'm working with the Karen speaking and Spanish speaking families online. And with an interpreter, with our Karen classes, it takes more time, obviously, but it works. Sometimes it seems like the time is too short since we're limited to an hour, but we have 3 classes back to back from 4 to 8 p.m. So we can only stick to an hour pretty much, but we have over 80.
Wait, what did you just say? Back up. How many
have 3
classes?
classes back to back from
Holy
between 4 and 8
cow.
p.m.
How do you do that?
Adult.
I think
adult
we have
papers. How about
currently
that?
we have 83 Karen speaking families in classes. We have 3 that are back to back on, is it Tuesday afternoon
Tuesday
or
night.
Tuesday evening?
Starting at
And
4,
then-
we're done at 8.
And then we have another set of 3 that goes on Thursdays from 12:15 to 4 o'clock. So Karen speaking families, I think are our biggest, because I'm in a team with family literacy and our English language learning families, and our Karen families make up our biggest group in that family, or in that team or that
Yeah, we
group.
just have 2 on Monday morning, 2 Karen speaking classes on Monday morning.
So we're in teams, like I'm on a Birth to 5 team with Sharon and Elizabeth and Karen, who's not here. So we have, we pair up ECPE, 1 hour classes. And so I think there's 18 or 19 during the week.
Our team is 19 and now 2 drop-ins.
Is that 19 people at a session, or is that 19 classes?
19 classes, 1 hour classes. And we're trying to limit it to 10. Some classes have 6 or 8, but some are full at 10. So we're, intentionally trying to keep the online at 10, because last spring when we rolled into distance learning, some of these classes had 15, 16 people, and it was just too big online. Although Monday, like the evening classes are attended more by couples. So that 10, might be 10 families, but you have 2 adults on the screen. And then for me personally, like discovering breakout rooms, thanks to Elizabeth, that is not something I did in the spring. I didn't know about it. So that's, we just finished week 2, but I tried out the breakout rooms this week, and that was great, to allow parents to go into small group or pair discussion for like 10 minutes. So I think that's going to be really helpful. And then come back into the whole group. And it's really easy to use, and so that we're not all just looking at each other the whole time,
And just to note that you can't, like Google Meets, it depends on the platform. So Zoom, you can do the breakout groups. If you're on Google Meet, you can't. And I don't know about the Microsoft platform, but.
That's what I was just gonna say, was that for St. Paul, we really tried to do meetings as like the district wanted us to use Teams first and then Meet, but then they allowed us to use Zoom. But really for ECFE purposes, the Zoom has been the best platform to use. to be able to see everyone and see yourself and to not be a stagehand at the same time as trying to be the teacher. It's hard on other platforms. They usually put yourself really small, which is fine usually, unless you're trying to see if you're holding a book in the screen or something else, you know. So I wanted to share that we really fought to have Zoom, to be able to use Zoom for ECFE, even if the rest of the district isn't, because of the tools that it has. That's all.
So just to let you know, we've got about 3 minutes. We generally keep to our 12 to 1 hour. And also just to mention that, so that if there's something you're dying to ask before we have to close our call, that you get a chance to do that.
I have a question. I really think reflection and support is we can't do this without some kind of reflection and care of all our staff. And I'm wondering if anyone, I'm wondering if anyone has hired a mental health professional to meet in small groups with your staff, maybe once a month or something, or like a reflective supervision kind of thing. Like, I'm not sure I personally can get through this.